Welcome back to Uber's Trending Gist. Today we are diving deep into a hot take and serious debate from the Arise News Morning Show. We have a packed agenda. The mixed reactions to Nnamdi Kanu'S landmark conviction and life sentence, the critical security situation in Kebbi State after a schoolgirls adoption, and former President Goodluck Jonathan's intriguing hints about his political future. This panel didn't hold back, giving legal, political, and emotional perspective on some of Nigeria's most pressing issues. Stay tuned because you don't want to miss a single minute of this critical conversation. So sit back and take a watch.
All right, once again, congratulations and happy birthday to President Goodluck Jonathan. But of course, insecurity still on the front burner this morning. And we're also looking at the news that was trending yesterday with regards to the life sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu by Justice James Omotosho. Your take on this story is, Vimbai?
Several serious matters arising. I'll begin with, again, wishing a warm happy birthday to former President Goodluck Jonathan. And, after saying he would have to, recuse himself from the West African Elders Forum, I now just say that, his life as an elder, his career as an elder to African democracy has become very valuable. I know Nigeria and some Nigerians may feel they need him to come back to the presidency, but they may have to drag with him with the rest of Africa because we're now enjoying his role as an African elder. But now let's take a look at some of the serious issues. I begin with security, where the Minister of State for Defense, Matawale, has been summoned, or rather instructed, to make his way to Kebbi State. Now, yesterday we'd asked the question, is it criminality, is it terrorism? And those questions remain unanswered. And I continue to ask this because just 2 weeks ago, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly of Kebbi State was also abducted, but he was later returned. So it's a hot spot. But my question is, when will we stop politicizing these issues? Because this Minister of State for Defense is still not on great terms with the governor of Zamfara State. And the governor of Zamfara State has said that he has information pertaining to other hotspots and other activities in Zamfara. And of course, we well know that these bandits or these, players now work across state borders. So I do hope that there will be room for collaboration and that he will reach out to his successor in Dauda Lawal and be able to exchange information for the greater good of Nigeria. I hope politics will not interfere in this process, because even if you recall in Benue State, now we see the governor of Benue State sort of reneging on his words about, the persecution against Christians. But remember, also at the time, there was tension between him and the Secretary General of the Federation, George Akume. Again, politics playing itself out in issues of national security. So I hope that at this time, all politics can be shelved. However, there are still several allegations that too many things remain politicized, including insecurity. In all of this, I still pray and demand the return of the girls. Now to the biggest story of the day yesterday, which is, of course, the conviction and sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu after 10 years of pursuing this trial, 4 different courts. This particular case in itself this particular trial was 9 grueling months. I think that one of the biggest losses for us is the fact that we were unable to hear a defense. I think the world wanted to hear what he had to say for himself with regards to the evidence that was presented, with regards to the allegations leveled against him. I think people would have wanted to see less of courtroom outbursts and more of well laid out arguments. Having said that, however, this conviction has met mixed reactions. Some are celebrating justice. Let's talk about the celebration of justice. I think we do have to commend this administration for the transparency that we saw in the live broadcasting of the sentencing, the live broadcasting of the conviction, which goes a long way. However, the trust deficit that exists between the people and the judiciary remains very deep, and which is why most people will still take the conviction with a pinch of salt, because they still have lost that trust. Now, very quickly, I'll go to those who are saying that, he's being convicted on a law that was repealed. Yes, the terrorism law of 2013 was repealed and replaced with that of 2022, but the Interpretation Act of Nigeria, Clause 6, does say that that, if you committed a crime under a certain law and it's repealed, you can still be tried for it. So I think that argument doesn't stand. I look forward to the debate from legal minds. But the question remains, is this a case of selective justice? And I think that's the conversation that's going to be carried forward.
Thank you. Dr. Abati.
Nnamdi Kanu was charged under the old law, the 2013
law,
Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act. And under that law, the punishment for terrorism, for treason, is the death penalty. And that is why Awomolo SAN, who is lead counsel, lead prosecutor for the federal government, is insisting that, the Court of Justice of Motosho should have applied that old law because it was under that old law that he was charged. However, Justice Omotosho's judgment, the certified true copy, is about 144 pages. I'll just try to take a random look at it. And he convicted Nnamdi Kanu on all the 6 counts, counts 1 to 6. And the reference in all of those counts is that Terrorism Prevention Act of 2013. However, the big issue is about how the trial has gone. 5 judges, and now we have reached this stage at the Federal High Court. And the main issue is the fact that the accused person himself dismissed his legal team. Perhaps if Kanu Agabi SAN and the rest of the defense team had been allowed to defend them, perhaps the outcome may well have been slightly different. There was some talk about written address under ACTA, Administration of Justice Act of 2015. That's discretionary. It's not, a case is not determined on the basis of a written address. It's determined on the preponderance of evidence. And the judge ruled that, in fact, the prosecution had proven its case and provided enough evidence to show that Kanu needed to be convicted. And in any case, he was left with no option because the accused person was asked to enter a defense. He not only sacked his lawyers, he also behaved, in a very confrontational manner in court. So, on the basis of all of this, the judge says, it was a gamble that did not pay off. So, if you look at portions of the 144-page certified true copy, it stayed very closely within the province of the law, even if there was a lot of melodrama in open court leading to the accused person being asked to look at the court. I was looking for the portion of the judgment about the written address. And I think somewhere down the line there, the judge even admitted that he considered the written address, even if it was submitted late, just to ensure that justice was done. In any case, I've seen some reports saying the case has ended. The case has not ended. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has the option of going to the Court of Appeal. He can even also go all the way to the Supreme Court. But if you look at precedents, it will be very difficult, to upturn the evidence from the lower court and, the position that has been expressed by the Court of Justice Omotosho. I think, and I believe, that this matter has not ended. Because of the political dimension to it, I see a situation whereby at the end of the day, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be pressurized to apply the prerogative of mercy, pardon, and maybe the sentencing can be commuted, or the federal government can do whatever it likes, having refused to interfere in the judicial process by activating Section 174 of the 1999 Constitution, which gives, the Attorney General the power to enter a nolle prosequi, which is to withdraw the case. What I found curious, however, is the triumphalism of Chief Awomolo SAN. I mean, in open court, he was reading from a text, and I was wondering, it looked a bit unusual to me, that why was his statement already written? But maybe I don't understand that part of the proceedings. But he now came out later and addressed the press, or he got interviewed by the press, where he was saying that, now that Kanu has been convicted, there will be peace in the Southeast. People in the Southeast can sleep with both eyes closed. It cannot be so certain, because you've seen that this could also be a signal for resistance in the Southeast. However, he made more important points, namely that we are all Nigerians, that we are all victims when we don't cooperate together to secure this country, when we don't believe in the idea of Nigeria, and that as all Nigerians, we must push towards the idea of unity. Awomolo SAN also, with due respect, made an important point that, look, nobody is above the laws of Nigeria, that we are all under the rule of law. But as I said, the story has not ended. We will see what happens eventually, but President Tinubu can just grant pardon, commit the sentence, and all of us can. Then the political part can come in. The president will say, the judicial process has gone this way. Okay, let us look at this option. My personal opinion. I'm not saying that is what will happen. Now, the second story was about Matawale, the Minister of State for Defense, going to Kebbi, where 24 girls were abducted, along with the principal, the vice principal, Mr. Kuku. So that's what makes it 25. Where the girls were 24, plus the vice principal. Now, the president has cancelled his trip to the G20 this weekend. He has cancelled his trip to the AU summit in Luanda, Angola. He has sent the vice president to go there. Now he's sending the Minister of State, Minister Matawale, to go and oversee the security efforts. Well, you see, this happens all the time. Under President Buhari, you see him sending even the Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Defense Staff, to relocate. Those methods didn't work in the past. What is the assurance that, you know, the same approach will work this same time around? Matawale doesn't command troops, but we're told that the reason the president has cancelled his trip is to receive security briefings. Maybe the better idea is to have his own minister on the ground. So what the federal government has done so far is to show empathy. But empathy is not enough. Now, those girls, the important thing is to rescue them and return them to their families. The other thing that is also important is that, did you see the picture of that school? Is that supposed to be a school or a shed? Even the hostel, nobody should study under such deplorable conditions. So when we talk about the Safe School Initiative, which I said had been on the table since 2013, Gordon Brown, Prince Nduka Obagbena, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, being part of that process. This is 2025. Our schools remain unsafe. Under the Buhari administration, we were told that there was going to be the fencing of schools. Even that school is not fenced. And where the students are living, I mean, you just put the lives of young persons at risk. And then we go through all this. Look at the school. Look at what, is this supposed to be a school? I didn't go to this kind of school. I went to schools that looked better. So this again is about the story of Nigeria. This is supposed to be a hostel in a school that is owned by government. And then, of course, it's not just these girls. Some of these stories come before us. We talk, and then the stories go away. There were some women who were going from Kogi to write a promotion exam in Abuja. I think that happened a few months back. Up till now, we have not heard where they are. Mrs. Ngozi Ibeziako and other women. And even, why are their husbands silent? Their wives have been taken away from them into the bush. I've not heard their husbands talking. There's also Mrs. Ladoyi. About 6 of them. So this is the kind of challenge that we face. Very quickly, before I shut up. President Goodluck Jonathan, yesterday was 68. It was also the 10th anniversary of the Goodluck Foundation. There was dinner in Abuja attended by an international community. And it was on that occasion that President Jonathan said, well, the only way he could ever come back to active politics in Nigeria is if he resigns as the chairman of the West African Elders Forum. Now, he is the founder of that West African Elders Forum. He is the chairman of the West African Elders Forum. And that West African Elders Forum has been mobilizing former West African presidents to intervene in crisis situations, whether it's in Mali or Guinea-Bissau or Togo or elsewhere, providing leadership. That's a much bigger platform for President Goodluck Jonathan. I want to assume that it was a coded message by saying, look, I have a bigger role internationally, but being a modest person is not going to put it like that. You know, to say that, well, if I resign from that position, even if he wants to resign as chairman of West African Elders Forum, you cannot erase the fact that he was the founder and he's the one who has been leading that group to resolve crisis in West Africa, to promote diplomacy and good governance in not just West Africa, but also Africa, to which he has been invited by international organizations. Now, his example reminds us that there is life after office, whether you are president or you are an editor or whatever you are. And then, okay, yesterday was also the celebration of 10 years of the Goodluck Ebele Foundation. It's in Maitama there, very close to, well, go and find out the address yourself. Now, that foundation has also been very active. So President Jonathan is well occupied, is very active, not just in the country, but also continentally and regionally. So I see it as a coded message. I'm not saying categorically, because in politics anything can happen. But even if it were to be otherwise, which platform will he use? The same PDP that is going through death throes. You know, there's something they call death throes, from ICU almost on the way to the mortuary. Or is it the ADC that is still in the process of forming? Or is it the Labour Party whose secretariat is a subject of contention between Abure and Nnamdi Usman? I think that President Jonathan is giving indication that he would rather be another statesman and that he will come back to active politics when there are no more rascals in Nigerian politics. Well, we should all fold our hands and wait for that day when there will be no more rascality in Nigerian politics. I hope that day comes in my lifetime.
That was a powerful segment with serious points raised by Ayo, Vimbai, and Dr. Abati. So let us quickly break down the critical and deeply elaborated takeaways. On security, Kebbi abduction, and the state of schools. The Kebbi schoolgirl abduction tragically highlights the structural failures in Nigeria's security framework. Dr. Abati points underscores by the images of the dilapidated school is crucial. The lack of basic infrastructure like perimeter fencing and secured hostels makes these students incredibly vulnerable. This is more than just a security failure. It is a systematic betrayal of the Safe School Initiative, a policy that was largely abandoned after the initial promise following the Chibok and Dapchi girls incident. Furthermore, the deployment of the Minister of State for Defense to Kebbi State amidst his alleged political tussle with the Zamfara governor brings to light a debilitating political problem. When the critical necessities of securing citizens is potentially compromised by political rivalries that inhibits interstate security cooperation, it shows politics is actively undermining national security. Bandits and terrorists operate across state borders, and our security response must, too, without political interference. As Vimbai asked, when will we stop politicizing these life and death issues? So, on Nnamdi Kanu'S conviction and sentence, this verdict is a legal behemoth, yet its resolution will likely be political. Dr. Abati confirms that the life sentence, while harsh, is based on the Terrorism Provision Act of 2013, which was in force at the time of the alleged offense, relying on Nigeria's Interpretation Act, a crucial legal detail. However, the trial was marred by irregularities, most notably Kanu'S refusal to mount a defense and his legal team's subsequent withdrawal. Vimbai hits the nail on the head regarding the trust deficit. A case of this magnitude needed a full, transparent defense to satisfy a deeply skeptical public, especially in the Southeast. The verdict, while legally sound, according to Judge, risks being widely viewed as selective justice if the government does not prosecute other individuals who threaten the country's security. Ultimately, the political situation already hinted at by the federal government and mentioned by Dr. Abati is likely an executive pardon or sentence commutation utilizing powers of the Attorney General, Section 174 of the Constitution, or the President. This path is often chosen to de-escalate political tension and foster national healings, overriding the legal process for the sake of the public peace. On Goodluck Jonathan's 2027 hint, former President Goodluck Jonathan's statement about his condition for returning to active politics, the end of rascality, is a deeply coded political message. Vimbai and Dr. Abati rightly recognized that his current role as an international statesman leading the West African Elders Forum in mediation efforts across sub-region holds significant global prestige. His condition is a clever way to setting an almost impossible high bar for re-entry into Nigeria's political fray, allowing him to maintain relevance and moral high grounds without subjecting himself to the turbulence and risk of active national politics. He has found a far more influential and respected platform, and he is wisely signaling his preference for it. So, that's it for today's deep dive. Let me know your thoughts of these issues in the comments below. Do you think a presidential pardon for Kanu is inevitable? Is politics overriding security in Nigeria? Let us discuss. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Oba's Trending Gist for more critical analysis, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. I am Oba. I'll see you next time.